talk about Arteta's Arsenal. And I'll give you some time to speak on that since you're the Arsenal fan.
Yeah, so obviously in the last podcast, we were talking about Unai Emery finally being sacked. And then, after about 2 or 3 weeks of Freddie Ljungberg taking over, Mikel Arteta's the guy. He was put on as the full-time head coach, and he's really turned things around, like to a major degree, within 2 weeks. It's actually insane. The first match against Bournemouth, we drew 1-1, but you could see things were different. Immediately Arteta came in and said, effort is non-negotiable. Like, you're going to be sprinting nonstop. And it's interesting because he came in during the festive period with 3 games in 2 weeks. Or a week and a half, really.
Yeah.
All Premier League games, 2 against top 6 opponents. And, we drew against Bournemouth, but you could see the intent was different. And then we played Chelsea. Unfortunately, we lost Callum Chambers for the year. He tore his ACL in the first half. But, again, they were pressing the entire first half and played Chelsea out of the park.
That Chelsea game is first of all, Arsenal should have won that game. I'm just going to interject for 2 seconds, and then you can.
No, you're
Arsenal
fine,
should have won that game. Jorginho should not have been on the field to score the equalizer.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's really frustrating. Jorginho should have picked up a second yellow for the same foul that Lucas Torreira got a foul and a yellow card on a few minutes prior.
Yeah.
But to play devil's advocate, Guendouzi could have had a dangerous challenge that could have been deemed a yellow card. However, VAR looked at it and said no. So the people arguing that side, you're wrong. But they got tired in the second half. You could see it. They started playing back, and eventually Chelsea nicked the win 2-1. But at the end of the match, everybody gave the team a round of applause. As a fan, what you want to see is effort. You want to see your team try and improve and work hard. And right now, Arsenal's ticking all those boxes. What does it mean for the rest of the season as far as results? God knows. We play Leeds on Monday in the FA Cup. Who knows if we'll win that game? Because Leeds is a great side.
Are they top of the table?
Top of the table in Championship.
Who knows? That's a toss-up.
Exactly. Well, okay. We're still favorites.
Okay.
But, you've got tough fixtures coming up. The Europa League is coming back. It's going to be tough. However, it looks like Arteta is up for it. And you can attribute that to his time with Wenger, his time with Pep, the natural tenacity that everybody says he has. But Arsenal seem to be turning it around. If the board can back him in January to at least get the cover that he needs for defenders and midfield, who knows?
So I was going to ask you about that, about January, because there were a lot of rumors swirling around. As you just said, Napoli is linked with Kolasinac, but Hertha Berlin were linked with Xhaka. I know Aubameyang was angling for a move out at one point. So what's happening in terms of outgoings and who is actually strongly linked other than Upamecano? Because I haven't seen anybody.
So one big thing to know is English press talk shit all the time, and they make up lies just to rile up the Arsenal fan base. One, because overall we're gullible, but 2, Arsenal's a big club that's got a history of hate within the media. So as far as Aubameyang angling a move out, he's come out and said he's 100% committed to Arsenal, not even considering a move. I think he'll leave in the summer, simply because if he doesn't sign a contract extension, Arsenal will want to get some money for him, hopefully make the money back that they spent. But as far as who's linked with a move out besides him, Granit Xhaka, like you said, was linked to Hertha Berlin, and Berlin have just signed a really highly rated young Argentinian guy, midfielder as well, from Stuttgart. So looks like Arsenal said no. Arteta convinced Xhaka to stay in the board to keep him. And the way he's playing, I don't blame him. He's had 4 great games in a row since he came back from that whole mess.
And a mess it was, yeah.
A mess it was. Shout out Emery. As far as who's linked with the move in, Upamecano is the number 1 guy. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think Arsenal have that much money to spend. There's talk of Adrien Rabiot on loan from Juventus. There's talk of Emre Can, even though he's likely going to Dortmund now. And that's really it. Like,
I guess with Weigl leaving, yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense. And it would most likely be very cheap.
I mean, Cheap for. I mean, let's not forget that Juve got both of those guys for free.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're making a profit on anything.
So BS rumor. Supposedly Giroud is open to coming back. That's not happening. Don't even consider it.
No. Okay. Well, Arteta has definitely seemed to he's brought back the feel good factor. For now, we'll see how. We'll see how things pan out through the rest of the season. But
the good thing is we've already lost under Arteta against Chelsea. It's not going to be that expectation like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had of, oh my God, Ole's at the wheel. We're winning every game. Champions League is incoming. You don't need that pressure on you.
No. And also, I thought the way you guys played against Man United were horrible. Absolutely horrible. But Arsenal was you could see the improvements. The way they were passing the balls, the intricate movements, the forward play. You could see what he brought in. And I know there's been a lot of talk about how Arteta has basically copied Pep's playbook and all this stuff.
But he hasn't.
He hasn't. Not necessarily. Not to a T. There's some overlaps.
Of course.
But I think if you look at specifically the fullback area, he likes to keep his fullbacks wide. But Pep likes to bring at least one fullback in the midfield to dominate the possession. So I think there are small differences in the way that Arteta sets up his side and he asks them to play. Still playing really good football. Still, I mean, hopefully they can continue winning games how they beat Man United.
Definitely. And what you said is interesting because the easiest way to see the differences between Pep and what Mikel Arteta is trying to do is in the fullbacks. We put an 18-year-old recent academy graduate winger at left back, and we put a guy who's struggling for game time who doesn't know his best position at right back. Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Bukayo Saka. And Saka was combining down the left nonstop, and Maitland-Niles was always the outlet pass for any of the attackers, as well as tucking into the midfield where he grew up at. In our youth system, he played as a midfielder. So yes, they know how to switch shape better than they could under Emery, the guy who was supposedly the king of pragmatism. And communication is a big factor there, but also respect. Like you said, the feel-good factor is back. Socrates and David Luiz had an interview after the match against Manchester United, and Socrates came out and said the fun is back. Now, this is a dude who hasn't smiled a day in his life, and he's smiling on camera now. And if you got that kind of belief, then yes, you're going to play better. And they're playing with confidence. They're playing with intention, which at this point, it's hard to do so. When you've lost 14 out of 15 games, you're struggling in the Europa League, you're out of the League Cup. What do you lean on? You got to lean on each other, and that sort of unity is back in Arsenal.
Yeah. It's also good, I want to point out, to see Lucas Torreira, who is arguably, top 10 defensive midfielders. At least he was before Emery got a hold of him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's good to see him playing, in his best position as a defensive midfielder, and it's good to see him playing well.
I mean, he's been killing it. I would say the weakest point over the past few months has been our midfield, not even our defense. I think our midfield has been the weakest point. And the reason why the defense always got exposed is because the midfield had no discipline in it. And what you've seen now is Guendouzi being taken out of the spotlight, which for a young guy I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But you're also seeing Torreira step up and play what he's best at. That sort of commandeering, N'Golo Kante-esque player, because Torreira's got a pass in him.
Yeah, I think. I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but yeah, I see what you're saying. He some of his game does resemble what N'Golo Kante does.
Just take the ball and distribute it back out.
But N'Golo Kante runs and runs and runs.
And on that note, so has Torreira. He's covered the most distance out of any Arsenal player this year.
Oh.
And
even though he's barely played.
And another player who is also balling out is the one and only man who has outlasted Unai Emery, the most controversial player, I think, in Arsenal history, Mesut Ozil. And he didn't register an assist in the Manchester United game, but his presence was felt everywhere. He had the most ball recoveries out of any player that game, and he just continues to play well. Where I think there is a similarity with Pep's tactics is the attacking side of the game. Pep and Arteta both like to attack with 5 up front, utilizing the wing and using the creative midfielders in the central areas.
Yeah.
And just past Lacazette, you'll always see Ozil darting down the right on any breakaway. That's his zone now. The same thing we've seen with David Silva and now Kevin De Bruyne. That right space is where Ozil operates best at. That's why you've seen him play at the wing. At Real Madrid, he was a right midfielder because that's his best spot. He can distribute the ball anywhere on the field from that area. And Mikel Arteta played with Ozil. He knows that. He knows how to get the best out of him.
Yeah.
And if we can't sell him, we got to use him.
I think that's honestly, because he's making way too much money to ride the bench. And I think that's an interesting dynamic that they played together, and now he's his coach. So
Yeah.
I wonder how that goes. I'm sure that it's all like chummy and whatnot, but I think that's an interesting dynamic that they've got there.
I mean, Ozil's come out and said that his first years, 2 or so at Arsenal, were some of his happiest times as a footballer, just coming off that World Cup win,
Yeah.
new league, new teammates, all that. He was the star of the show. And I'm sure there is a big sense of respect because when he came in, Arteta was the captain. And now Ozil knows that he's got the pieces around him. He doesn't have to rely on Danny Welbeck and Giroud like in 2016 when we came second in the league. He's got star players all around him, and it's up to him to push himself to that level, to be his best. And we've seen over the past 3 games that he's still got it in him.
I think just to wrap up this section, I think one, Arteta's Arsenal, I think you could expect a few things. Good
Quadruple.
Okay, wow. Attractive football is back.
Yeah.
Do I think that they'll be challenging for the league anytime soon? No. Do I think you guys can challenge for FA Cup? Yes. And I think more than anything, bringing back if you guys are not winning anything, at least be fun to watch. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly.
For the fans. At least be fun to watch.
And we had that under Wenger. I think the big thing that everybody wants to see is effort.